Good morning, everyone. I'm a bit under the weather, so excuse my voice. I'm going to do a quick BTC analysis. So let's start off with the 30-minute time frame. As you can see right here, we've broken down finally from this sideways range that we had yesterday, right? We sliced right through it, headed towards about 66.75 or so, and it now looks like we're bouncing back up. So why is that important? Let's see, okay? Let me pull up a different chart here on the 4 hour time frame. All right, so here's the 4 hour time frame, and here's a couple different ways to look at it. Okay, first thing, you could look at it with this trading range right here, which is that this high right here. Let me pull this down a little bit more. Okay, so this high right here, this is your first deviation of this trading range high, second deviation, third, and then over here, price pulls back in the range and then sells off. Okay, now what I've been thinking about is what if I'm drawing the trading range wrong? What if this is not really the true low of the trading range? What if it's something like this? Okay, I'm gonna pull it up like that. All right, and I'm going to pull this down like this, okay? And the reason I'm thinking about this is because it makes more sense when you have this low right here being put in and then another deviation low right there, another deviation low right there, and now what we're seeing is the true breakdown of the range potentially, okay? And you can see right here, price actually pushed back up to the bottom of the range right here, got rejected, and then sold off. So it makes a little bit more sense if I draw the bottom of the trading range right there rather than right there. So how does this help us? Okay, so first thing that we're seeing right now is if you look over here, right? I'm gonna put a horizontal line right there. Okay, that's where most of these candles open and closed and then pushed up, right? You can see price is pretty much hitting that, pretty spot on right there, right? And then the low for that is right around this area right here, okay? So if we were to assume that, in this particular range right here, this is where we had a good amount of bulls defending the price and pushing it back up all the way up here, we need to see if price is going to come down in here in that same region between 66.75 and about 65.25. Will it get defended and price pushes back up at the very least to this area, this SR level, which is this blue block around $7,100, or will it push up even higher to the top of the trading range? I mean, I think the top of the trading range is a bit um, more unlikely, but I would figure that price could potentially make it back all the way up here and then start selling off, okay? Because one thing is for sure that this area right here, as you can see, the 66.75 and this 65.25, that $150 range is clearly the one area where price bounced from right here and then just took off all the way to about $7,800. So I wouldn't be surprised if we catch a bit of a bounce here. Doesn't mean that we have to bounce all the way up here. It could also just mean that we hit the bottom of the trading range again, sell off, or we could make it as high as this blue SR level, sell off. Or another thing, okay, we could do is this. All right, remember I mentioned yesterday about CME gaps, okay? More often than not, like right here, you could see the gap got filled. Right here, you could see the gap got filled. Right here, you could see the gap got filled with this wick right here. So the point is that, we've left this gap of uncertainty right here between about 71.50 and about 72.50. So that's a $100 gap, right? So it would make sense if we potentially bounce, from this support area right here. Sorry for my awful drawing. Let me make that a little bit better. Okay. So it makes sense if we bounce from this area right here, okay, and push up all the way to close this gap. Now remember, I've also stated that gaps are not necessary, that they have to be filled, okay? But as per, if we look at Bitcoin, historically, a majority of the gaps have gotten filled. I mean, I don't see a single gap for the last couple months that hasn't gotten filled. As you can see, gap right there, filled right there, 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 even over here. Look, gap, filled, Over here is another gap that hasn't been filled. Okay, over here this gap got filled by this right here, this movement. Okay, so the point is that there are more times often that the gap does get filled than it does not. Okay, so statistically, the odds are in your favor that the gap could get filled. There's a higher likelihood, right? And that's kind of all that technicals is about, is what are the chances of the gap potentially getting filled or not, okay? What are the chance of price moving in X direction or Y direction, right? So anyway, if we go back to this chart right here, okay, this chart right here on the 4-hour time frame, you can see price got rejected at the bottom of the trading range. So statistically, selling off from here is probably a higher probability. But remember, it's also meeting this key support area that helped propel price from this, $65, $6,600 area all the way up to about 77, 7,800. So it makes kind of more sense that price comes down to this area, hits it as support, potentially bounces back up. Now, if you truly want to wait for a confirmed short, okay, I would wait for this low right here of this wick to break, 65.25. If price starts sort of going like this, right, going like this, and it hits this area right here, doesn't strongly bounce off of it, and it kind of just hovers sideways here, or breaks down, tests it as resistance, this is your entry for your short. Your stop will be up here, and then you could ride this thing all the way down to, I don't know, 6,000, 5,000, 5,500, the other targets that I spoke of, okay? The daily looks pretty brutal so far. If there's any area for the price to bounce, it's probably over here. It needs to start bouncing soon. If not, it'll just keep breaking and slicing this area and then just keep selling off. Okay, so that's potentially just one simple way to look at it is this is really the only remaining support for price action if it really wants to hold up. Okay, if not, a clear confirmed short is break of this bottom trading range that I showed you earlier, the bottom of this low wick, 65.25, and then the short will probably continue all the way down to 6,000 or mid 5,000s. Okay, let's see how the weekly is doing. Here's the weekly chart. Okay, so the weekly, remember, this candle just opened about 2 days ago. It's already looking pretty bearish, right? Um, it hasn't quite, obviously we have about 5 more days to go. So if you watch this weekly candle, okay, there is a potential chance that this could be a fake out, right? Like a SFP. SFPs are created when you think that prices are going to break this low or break the open of this candle right here. You can see the green open and close of these candles. That's around 6,900 or so, right? So if price by the end of this week right here pokes down but only leaves a wick at the bottom and then starts heading back up, or rather has a candle body that closes above this area, okay, that could be a potential SFP, swing failure pattern. And then you want to look for the following day or two in the next weekly candle to see if we're going to cause a potential reversal. And then you could take your potential long trade, because what would probably happen is it probably creates SFP and then it starts bouncing up. At the very least, it's probably going to head to these open and closings right here, so around 75.16, or I guess you can make the argument that it can make it all the way up here to about 95.50, which is again very unlikely, given the fact that we've had this overall, pretty big bearish trend of a high, lower high, and then a low, lower low, lower low. Okay. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Nothing else to really look at. Let's see here. As I've talked about, I still expect this minor capitulation to increase. You can see right here, it's starting to work its way to expanding that hash ribbon right there. I think that's pretty much, the way it starts. I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming couple of weeks we start increasing that capitulation, widen the gap in the hash ribbons like this, and then have that final sell-off to about my final target around 5,000 to 5,500. I feel like a broken record saying my final targets are around that area, but hey, I'll either be right and I will have been right from all the way up here, calling for this low, or I'll be completely wrong and I will have come pretty close to my target too if price somehow bounces from here, okay, from 6,700. Even in that case, I would have been about, $1,000, $1,200 off, which is still not bad, given the fact that people are still you here, you know. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Again, come join Cryptosomniac Advantage membership. There's also a course on Cryptosomniac products page, which is my technical analysis course. You can buy that course and get 7 free days in the Advantage memberships, which are the lock channels right here. And I hope to see y'all soon, all right? Good luck training, and I will talk to y'all soon. Cheers.